Namaste, Jai Bharat. What do you think of Hamas? The Hamas, we know, have built many underground tunnels and they practically literally made a city underground. That's why they were controlling Gaza. And that is where from they have been operating against Israel. And that is where they took all the prisoners and then tortured and killed them. And Iran is a master. It's Iran who gave these ideas to Hamas. And don't you think Iran must have made their own tunnels? Yes, of course. They have made their own tunnel system. See, Iran remains safe by keeping Hezbollah proxy, Hamas, of course, proxy, and the Houthis proxy, and also the IS, etc. All these proxies there for Iran. So they always kept playing a safe game according to their perspective and remained a bully in their own world for whatever reasons, religion, this thing, that thing. They were rich at the same time. So they didn't have to depend much on others. Only thing, because of the sanctions, they were unable to cash their oil the way they wanted, but then they still had income without any problem. So Iran actually had made kilometers and kilometers of underground tunnel cities. These tunnel cities were not for the terrorists to hide. The terrorists of Iran were under different names. Hezbollah, Hamas, Houthi, whatever. They were operating elsewhere. Hezbollah chiefly in Lebanon. And I am sure that Lebanese government, of course everyone knows, has really nothing serious to do with this Hezbollah. It's Iran's forces. But operating from a different land. Funded by them. Ultimately for some cause which they must have kept projecting. So Iran has this long tunnel system, and these tunnel systems Iran were using to keep their missiles. That was mistake number one. They kept their missiles, launch pads, and facilities of war in these tunnels very deep, very deep, very deep underground, which they thought must be impenetrable by any kinds of bunker buster bombers. They actually seem to have underestimated the capability of bunker buster bombers. They made underground tunnels, concreted, and dug such tunnels into mountains, etc. So that was very sophisticated and rather complete, very deep into the underground, and they counted them to be safe, considered them to be safe. Launch pads were also there. Then, like the submarines, what we use in the sea, following the same method, in places in between, they had emerging exits. There were provisions for exits from where they could bring out the launch pad, missiles, fire them, or you know how much time it takes altogether, and then go back in hiding. They had calculated plan. Mistake number two that Iran committed is that they thought their air defense system would hold. So they will get some time. And this time is very crucial to Iran, and they wanted that time. But on the phase one of the attack of Israel-US combined operation against Iran, Israel had to do it. It's only because of America that Israel was not attacking Iran and had to stop the attack in the past, recent. So the first objective was they have nullified the air defenses. The air defense systems were rendered helpless, tooth and nailless. They could not detect. They failed to detect the flying objects. After making the air defense systems crumble, their forces were actually doing aerial surveillance on Iran through flying aircraft. through the flying aircraft fighters doing aerial surveillance to ascertain what are movements on ground. And these people were flying very low, which they could afford because their air defense systems were not functional and the missiles are already underground. So they really had no threat to make such survey. And the moment there is a movement, it will be identified by the aerial surveillance and will be action taken then and there. The moment Iran comes out of the tunnel city, they get indications, they finds it out and then does attack them. In time, the US had the heavy bombers, B-52 if I am not wrong, and these are all technical names, the heavy bombers which looks more like a bat. That's the only bomber, as the people say, that can carry very heavy bombs. And the bunker buster bombs are indeed very heavy. They used such bombs and started destroying Iranian tunnels, not just from one portion, from several portions. Wherever they already have intelligence, they have cyber intelligence, they have physical manual intelligence, and they also have aerial survey intelligence. So they have really destroyed most of the tunnels. And tunnels, they have kept soldiers. Iran kept soldiers. 30% of their army, that what is it, IRG, 30% of them are in the bunkers. Now, many must have been killed, and those who have left, they are cut off. Everything is cut off. Supply cut off, electricity cut off, everything cut off, communication cut off, and they are just stranded there to die. They have also, the US and Israel and US forces have also destroyed the entrances and exits of such tunnel. Because for entering and exiting, you would really have to come up to some level, to come out and then to go in. However camouflage you do the entrance, they can find out. The entrances were destroyed, so even if the inside is not so destroyed, the entrance is blocked. They don't even have ventilation. Living kilometers of underground, they don't even have ventilation, and the very life in tunnel, this manner, is sufficient to drive one person mentally unhealthy. All put together, Iran is crumbling. And Israel cannot afford to stop the war with Iran. That's very obvious. Israel cannot afford to keep Iran powerful because Israel's existence is questioned. Israelis will cease, Jews will cease to exist if Iran is let go. Iranian nuclear facilities are also equally destroyed. The details of it is so many spurious stories. Without being sure, one cannot say. But let's assume safely that a large amount of their nuclear facilities are either destroyed or crumbled. There were some major earthquakes in Iran of late, which is the indication of disturbing nuclear power. They have enriched, we don't know, people say that Iran is nuclear, they have made nuclear arms, I don't know. But then whatever is the case, the situation is so bad. Now Iran wants to have a talk, but I don't think, US of course obviously says there is no talk. They are asking for simple regime change, and that everybody in the world should welcome. Regime change. We are for the Persians, the people like us, me, support the ancient civilization of the Persians. The people living in Iran can't go back to the Zoroastrian religion. They can't become Christians overnight, at least, but they will be saved from the Islamic brutal regime of oppression, suppression, humiliation, and kind of things. Brainwashing goes on right from the madrasa education right in the beginning. Let them live freely as democracies. That's only our this thing, not their religion. When one says Persian, it's not a U-turn. Iran, the Arabs have destroyed their religion. The Arabs have replaced the Persian language with Arabic language. They have even rewritten their national anthem, and they have changed, redesigned the flags. So it's not the Iranians who did that. It's the invaders who came from outside, Omar Khalifa and his followers. They've already brought a culture and dumped the culture on the people of Iran, forced them to follow it. They have some originality. Some people must be having their thought towards the originality. Let them live their way. That's what a person with neutral perception would like to say. Anyway, Iran's, I don't think they can continue, and but then they will not surrender. They will not surrender because the moment Iran either agrees for a regime change or surrendering, both will amount to the same thing. These people will have to be facing consequences. That's IRG will have to face consequences. The leaders of IRG will have to face consequences. The so-called religious leaders will have to face consequences. They say that they won't care about what might happen to the people and the land of Iran, but then they will continue to hold on to the power till the last moment with tooth and nail, like an obstinate mule. We shall meet again. Namaste. Jai Bharat, Jai Siya Ram.